this murder happened, in 2013. So a lot of people have put it in the back of their minds and forgotten about it. We've not been able to do that. So being able to do things annually that will bring people's memories back, or even advertise, $50,000 is a lot of money. Sometimes we just need to incentivize. So to have something this large in this community is important to us. It was a way to maybe jog someone's memory. Maybe seeing his picture, they'll recall who he was.
My name is Detective Martinez. I'm assigned to Valley Bureau Homicide, LAPD, and today we're talking about the murder of Kenny Folks. On May 9th of 2013, in the late hours, Kenny Folks, who owned a cell phone business in Van Nuys, was working late in his business. At some time during that period, whether he let the perpetrators in as customers or they forced their way in, Kenny Folks was forced to the back room of his business, at which time he was shot and killed. There were certain items taken from the cell phone. At this time, this case has remained unsolved, and last year we petitioned the LA City Council for reward, and we got it, and the City Council has issued a $50,000 reward for any information that would lead to the arrest and conviction of said perpetrators. We are asking for the public's help and attempting to locate and capture and bringing these suspects to justice. It's been a long time. It's been since 2013, and we're appealing to the public.
There were questions being asked about why would Kenny be in the store that late at night. This was the Thursday and Friday before Mother's Day. So it wasn't unusual. We were a small business, family-owned business. So for him to have to do receipts, make sure that the orders go out, make sure that the payments go in. We served a community. We were in the community that we served. So when you ask, do we know dangerous people? We have people that come in from that community each and every day. So did he know people? Absolutely. Would he have opened the door for someone who came to the door and said, look, it's Mother's Day, I need to buy my mom a phone? Absolutely he would. So to answer that, why would he be there? It's a business, and that was his business to run. And the reputation that he built in that community made the difference as to whether that business was successful or not.
If you could say anything to the people who took his life, this man was a father, he was a son, he was a business owner, he was contributing to his community. If you could say anything to the vile human beings who took his life, what would you say?
I wouldn't say anything. I have to tell you, I won't give them any more power than the power they've taken from this family already. What I would say, I will address the issue on that whole black thing. Black lives only matter when the people who perpetrate these crimes don't look like them. If black lives truly mattered, then it would matter that we are killing one another by leaps and bounds, and not just my son, because I truly believe that the person who killed my son looked like him. But because it wasn't law enforcement, and because it wasn't someone other than a person of color, we don't get the same response from the community. We don't get that outpouring and that reaching. So if I have something to say, I have something to say to the communities of color. Let's speak up. Let's come out and support those people. Our kids are being killed in these streets every day, and nobody has anything to say. Nobody gets angry about it. Does it take law enforcement or someone of non-color to kill a child for one of us to speak up? I don't think so.
What do you want to say directly to Black Lives Matter, and what do you want them to do?
I want Black lives to matter regardless of who perpetrates the crime. That's what I want. I want to see them rally for those of us who have lost our kids to the streets and to others who look like them. That's what I want.
What do you want to say about your dad? What do you want the world to know about your dad?
Well, I think he was a very intelligent and very wise young man. And I do wish that I had more time with him to get to know him a little better. and to understand him as more of a human. And I got to know him as a wonderful father during my time. And I think this billboard does mean a lot to us, and we've gone through lots of struggle to get to where we are. You know, even receiving the $50,000 reward as of last year, you know, it took us 7 years to get to that point. So I think it's extremely important, and I'm extremely grateful for everyone who had a part in getting this for us and me and my family. But overall, I think we can remember my father as a wonderful man, and he made such an impact in his community, and everyone remembers him as a brilliant young man. So I'm super glad and super proud for him to be my father and to be a Jackson in his name. So that's about my father, a little bit about him. They took from me, you know, a big part of who I am and a big part of what I could have grown up to be. And, you know, everyone needs a father in their life to guide them and to help them throughout life and to be that figure. And, you know, I didn't have that father figure every day growing up, which is something that I needed. And for my brother as well, for my brother Saeed, he needed a father as well to help him guide through life as a young man. And I feel like it's unfortunate that he didn't get that. And just losing his father at the age of 2, it makes me feel a little bad that, you know, I had that extra time and he didn't. So sometimes I do feel a little guilty about that, but I understand that everything happens for a reason. And if gun violence, if this didn't happen to my family, I wouldn't be speaking out about gun violence. So, you know, well, I just think it's every day almost 90 people are killed by gun violence in America, and the statistics go higher and higher each day. So I know that it's an important topic for me to speak out, especially at such a young age, because I feel like the community needs to listen to us, and I feel like they don't acknowledge us that much. And I think my grandmother made a great point about it. And for those who did take his life, you know, we don't want to give them any more power than they already took from our family. You know, they made a big impact, and it's so unfortunate that it still isn't solved yet. But I know a big thank you to Detective Martinez and the entire LAPD, because they have worked tirelessly hard and extremely hard, and I'm forever grateful for them, and LaWanda Hawkins as well, and Justice for Murdered Children and Justice for Homicide Victims, everyone who has played a part in getting justice and solving this case. And no matter how much longer it takes, we're never going to stop speaking out and fighting about it. And every year we hope to bring something new, and we're hoping this billboard brings anyone in the community to speak about this and give us information about it.
It's been a long time, 2013, and we're at 2021 without a lot of solid leads. How is somebody like you able to stay so positive, you know, in such a very trying circumstance?
Well, I think a constant reminder for me is my little brother, and knowing that I'm his, you know, his inspiration, and he looks up to me on a daily, even if he's not with me every day. I know that he always looks up to me and aspires to be, try to do what I do, and he always tells me that he's so proud of me and he's happy that I'm able to speak out, and I know that's something that he definitely wants to do one day and represent for his father. So I think a constant reminder for me is my little brother, and I always just try to share with him, you know, how much our father and how much our family supports him, and that he's never alone in it. So I think for me it's just personally my brother, but I also think about the bigger picture, and, you know, every other child who has lost their father due to gun violence, and especially at such a young age as well, they didn't get that opportunity that other kids get to have growing up with a parent, and whether that's your mother or your father or your guardian, someone who's close to you. You know, I always try to act as if I'm representing for the whole community and not just myself, and I just try to think of everyone else. So that's how it always keeps me going, and I'm genuinely just a positive person, so I think that's what also keeps me going. Oh, thank you.
We're working on it.
I hope so.
We're working on it.
Thinking about it. Thank you.
That's the only good thing that has come out of all of this. The only good thing that has come out of all of this is that she has become an advocate for her dad. She's become an advocate for children everywhere. And we're super proud.
Yes. I'm with a group called Justice for Murdered Children and Justice for Homicide Victims. This billboard came because Detective Martinez called me one day and said, LaWanda, I'm working on a case and I'm trying to get some leads. And he told me that. And he told me about the story. And at the end, I said, who is the victim? And he told me it was Kenny. And I said, let me see what I can do. And thanks to Clear Channel Outdoor, they were willing to get behind us and put up this billboard. And that's how we get to this billboard. It was, yes, we went, and we're asking, regarding these unsolved homicides, we're asking the city of Los Angeles and the county of Los Angeles, the money they took for law enforcement over the past year, we're asking them to put it behind these unsolved homicides. We're asking for more homicide detectives to be put on the street to solve some of these cases. We have a lot of black and brown unsolved homicides in our community. And the only way we're going to get these cases solved is by having manpower on the street to get these cases solved. Civilians like us can't make the arrest. It takes people, law enforcement, to make the arrest. And if we don't have them on the street, we can't get no arrest. If we don't have them investigating our cases continue to go unsolved. We have to somehow figure out ways to communicate with the community and figure out ways to get them to talk, because we know in Kinney case and other unsolved homicide cases that you see on my shirt that somebody besides the murderer knows. The murderer and the perpetrator knows. These are young people. We know with social media and how people talk, they're talking about these cases. We have to somehow come up with ways to be able to get that information and get it to the people that is needed to be able to solve these cases. But you got to remember, we have a lot of cases. It's not like our law enforcement is only dealing with 5 or 10 cases. They dealing with hundreds. There's thousands of unsolved homicide cases here in LA County. And ain't nobody saying put nothing behind it. Ain't nobody got no database for us, and none of this is happening. So we telling them they need to get behind this unsolved homicide and do something about it, because we believe they can find out who killed these people. We believe they can find out who killed Kinney and these other people who have been cases who go unsolved, like Vincent and all these kids. They can, but it takes money and it takes manpower. And it means that we have to have the people to be able to get on the streets and able to communicate with these people who are doing these crimes to get that information and be able to process it. Most definitely. I support the mother in this case, and I understand what she is saying, because it doesn't seem like black and brown lives matter only when it's involving law enforcement. But see, it has to matter every day, all day, regardless of who the perpetrator is. But it's not being taken like that. See, the community is filming when law enforcement is doing it, and you posted it on Facebook and everybody, but when they killing each other, they film it too, but we ain't getting that. Where's that filming? Where's that social media site at? And why aren't we able to tap into that? But then they talk about people's rights when we tap into their social media without getting permission. We got to go in front of a judge. And what do they say? We have to get some type of, what is that paper? They got to get some type of permission before detectives can actually look at your cell phone, even though they found it on the ground, or look at your social media. But by the time the detective get in front of a judge and get that paper, they done taken it down. We can't be that stupid. And the people in charge can't be that stupid. There has to be a better way. And we believe it is. But they ain't willing to sit down. They ain't willing to negotiate with us. When I talk about I'm talking about these elected officials who are controlling this behavior. Because I believe if they give law enforcement a little bit more power to communicate with the community, not just coming in and forcing, arresting, but communicating with the communities, knowing who the shot callers are, knowing who the people in the communities are, who's bringing the guns in. Because I ain't seen no gun shop in our community. I ain't seen it. But how in the hell we got 2,000 guns removed in South Central just this year alone? Somebody tell me. Somebody got to be bringing it in. And why aren't we putting these people on the streets to figure this out? Instead, we took them off the streets this year. We pulled back. Even though crime went up, murder went up, and you took these people off the streets, and then you tell me, LaWanda, we didn't mess with homicide. Well, what about the support team that support homicide? Because when a homicide occurs, it ain't the homicide detective first. It's the street cops. The cops driving around, they the first people on the scene.
What difference do you think Black Lives Matter could make in black on black homicides, and brown on brown homicides, and black on brown homicides? Because you're right, black and brown kids are killing each other like crazy. What do you think organizations like Black Lives Matter can do to make a difference if they focused attention on that, as opposed to, as you said, when a white cop kills a black person, then they're out in the street in droves? What do you think they can do in that regard to stop us from murdering us?
Once we start saying that our lives matters and we really mean it, and Black Lives Matter come in the community when there's black on black and brown on brown crimes, and they come in the numbers that we see when they come in law enforcement, I guarantee you we won't have this in our community. That will stop. A lot of people would be scared because they will call them out, just like they call law enforcement out. You'll say, hey, Johnny, in that house, you did the shooting, you come out today. But see, we don't see that. I don't know. I be out on the street constantly. And we don't get no funding. Justice for Murdered Children, Justice for Homicide Victims, we are 501c3, and we're not funded. But these other groups that you have mentioned are getting funding. But they only coming out when it's law enforcement. What about when it's black on black and brown on brown? What about those lives? Don't those people deserve justice too? Don't their lives matter? And when you don't see it like that, it creates a problem, a serious problem. And you're sending the wrong message. You're telling our people who are going out killing, it's okay. You're giving them the money to arm, to come in our communities, to do us in. And you're saying, I'm not going to bring nobody in to help you. And then we got this person in office who's not willing to prosecute them. This is really an attack on crime victims, especially on the families of murder victims. But when we bring this billboard up here, we're asking anyone who's seen or heard or know anything with Kenny's murder to call Detective Martinez. But if you want to do it anonymously, you can do LA Crime Stoppers. But you got Martinez's cell phone, so you can text him. You can text him. And you know these throwaway phones you all have that y'all get? You can use one of them and text him, give him what he needs. Just a little bit. That's all he needs. Just tell him something. Give him the leads. You heard from his daughter. She was only 5 years old. Do you know how important it is to have a daddy in your life? I thank God for my daddy every day. He's the reason I'm able to stand. But not to have one and to have him murdered and then to have his case go unsolved and everybody think it's okay. And let me tell you something. Because I'm a gangbanger, don't mean I ever committed a murder or anything like that. Sometimes people are called gangbangers because of the zip code. And their lives have to matter. You can't justify saying I killed you because you a gangbanger. And sometimes that, how do I say it? That victimizes the victims. Using these derogatory names, calling the victims gangbangers. I remember when they did it to victims of sexual harassment, women's of the night. They were starting these derogatory names, saying negative things about them until people explained it to you. You can't. And about Kenny being at the store at 11 o'clock at night, Kenny could be at the store at 1 o'clock in the morning. This is America. You could be at the store any time of day and night. And we can't let people think if I'm out at 11, you have the right to take my life. You can't give them those justifications. You can't give them that. You can't say because I was out at 1 in the store, you had the right. Regardless, if Kenny was not trying to take no one's life, which is not, it's just the detectives have said, no one had the right to take Kenny's life. No one. So if anybody heard anything or know anything, please call Detective Martinez. Text Detective Martinez and give him the information. But Kenny deserved to live. His life did matter. And regardless of what time he was in the store, regardless of what he was doing, his life mattered.